You ever notice how the strongest person in the room is usually the quiet one? Not the loud one arguing, not the one trying to prove a point, but the one sitting there, calm, watching, saying almost nothing. And deep down, you feel it. They don't need to speak because they already understand something most people don't. We live in a world where everyone is talking, everyone is posting, everyone is reacting, everyone wants to be heard right now. If someone disrespects you, people say something back. If someone doubts you, they say, prove them wrong. If someone hurts you, they say, don't stay quiet. So you try, you explain yourself, you defend your name, you argue your side, and somehow you still feel drained, like no matter how much you say, no one really listens. And the worst part? The more you talk, the more you lose control. Your peace disappears. Your energy drops. Your mind gets loud, and you start to wonder, why do I feel weaker, even when I'm trying so hard to be strong? Here's the truth. Real strength doesn't shout. It doesn't beg for attention. It doesn't rush to respond. It stays quiet. Not because it has nothing to say, but because it knows not everything deserves a response. And once you understand this, everything changes. The way you react, the way people see you, and most importantly, the way you feel inside. There's something powerful about silence, not the awkward kind, not the forced kind, but the kind that comes from control, the kind that says, I don't need to prove anything. Most people don't realize this. When you react to everything, you give your power away. Think about the last time someone said something that annoyed you. Maybe it was a comment. Maybe it was a message. Maybe it was someone doubting you. You felt it instantly, right? That heat in your chest, that urge to reply, to explain, to correct them. So you did. And what happened? It turned into a long back and forth, more stress, more frustration. And in the end, nothing really changed. But here's the part most people miss. The moment you felt that urge to react, that was the moment you lost control. Strong people feel that too. They're not emotionless. They get angry. They get hurt. They feel disrespected. But they pause. And that pause is where their strength lives. There was a guy once working in a small office. Every day, one of his coworkers would make little comments. Must be nice doing easy work. You're quiet. Probably don't have much to say. Small things, but they added up. At first, he wanted to respond. He even typed out replies in his head. But he didn't say anything. Days turned into weeks. The coworker kept talking, but something strange happened. People started noticing. They saw who was always talking and who was always calm, who was trying to prove something and who didn't need to. And slowly, the quiet one gained respect, without saying a word. That's the power of silence. Strong people understand something simple. Not every battle is worth fighting, because every time you fight, you spend energy, and energy is everything. You only have so much of it each day, so why waste it on people who don't even deserve your attention? But here's where it gets deeper. Silence isn't weakness, it's selection. It's choosing what matters. It's saying, I see what's happening, but I won't step into it. And this is where things change. When you stop reacting, you start observing. You begin to see people clearly. You notice who's trying to get a reaction, who thrives on drama, who speaks just to feel important. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. You realize it was never about you. There's another story. A woman was constantly judged by her family. Every decision she made, they had something to say. What are you doing with your life? You should be doing more. At first, she argued. She tried to explain her choices, her goals, her reasons, but nothing worked. The more she spoke, the more they talked. One day, she stopped, not out of anger, but out of clarity. She focused on her work, her growth, her peace. Months later, something shifted. The same people who judged her started asking for advice, not because she convinced them, but because she showed them, silently. Strong people don't chase validation. They don't need to win every argument. They don't need the last word, because they understand the last word doesn't always mean you're right. Sometimes it just means you're loud. And being loud is easy. Being calm, that's rare. But let's be honest, staying quiet isn't always easy. Sometimes it hurts. Sometimes you want to speak up, to defend yourself, to be understood. And that's human. But here's the truth. You don't need everyone to understand you. You just need to understand yourself. Because when you do, other people's opinions lose their weight. But here's something most people never realize. Silence doesn't just protect your peace, it builds your power. And once you feel that, you'll never want to go back. Think about this. When someone can't control you, they get frustrated. When they can't get a reaction, they get louder. When they can't shake your peace, they lose their grip. That's why silence feels so strong, because it removes control. There was a moment, maybe you felt it too. You were about to respond to something, a message, a comment, a situation. Your fingers almost moved, but you stopped. You put the phone down. You walked away, and later you realized it didn't even matter. That feeling? That's growth. That's strength. Strong people also understand timing. They know when to speak and when not to. Because silence doesn't mean never speaking. It means speaking with purpose. When they do talk, people listen. Why? Because they don't waste words. Every word carries weight. Every sentence has meaning. And people can feel that. There's something calm about a person who doesn't rush to respond. It creates a kind of presence, like they're grounded, like they're steady, like nothing can shake them easily, and in a world full of noise, that calm stands out. But here's the deeper layer. Silence helps you understand yourself. When you're not constantly reacting, you start thinking, reflecting. You ask better questions. Why did that bother me? Why did I feel that way? And that's where real growth begins, not outside, but inside. Another moment. A man lost an opportunity he really wanted, a job he worked hard for. When he heard the news, he was angry. He wanted to complain, blame someone, say it was unfair. But he didn't. He stayed quiet, not because it didn't hurt, but because he knew reacting wouldn't change anything. So instead, he worked harder. Months later, he got something better. And when people asked him how he handled it, he just smiled. That's strength. Strong people don't need to announce their struggles. They don't need sympathy. They process things quietly. They grow quietly. And then they win quietly. But silence isn't about hiding. It's about control. Control over your emotions, your reactions, your energy. And once you have that, you become dangerous in the best way. Not to others, but to your old self. Because now, you're not easily triggered, not easily shaken, not easily pulled into chaos. You choose your battles. You protect your peace, And that changes everything. There's a quiet confidence in that, a feeling of, I don't need to prove who I am, because you already know. And when you know, you stop explaining. Most people spend their lives trying to be heard, trying to be seen, trying to be validated. But strong people, they focus on becoming. And becoming is silent work. So the next time you feel the urge to react, pause. Just for a moment. Ask yourself, is this worth my energy? Is this worth my peace? And if it's not, let it go. Stay quiet, not because you're weak, but because you're strong enough to choose peace over noise. Strong enough to walk away from pointless battles. Strong enough to protect your mind. You don't need to be the loudest person in the room. You just need to be the most in control. And that's real power. If this spoke to you, if you felt something shift inside, consider subscribing. Because sometimes the quiet lessons are the ones that change your life the most.